Just because we're getting older doesn't mean our shoulders have to get weaker, but I do think we have to train them a little differently. Today, Dr. Pannell is going to show us 6 shoulder exercises, and I'll show you the 3 I like the most. Play smarter, play longer. Welcome back to Masters Movement. Over the last few videos, Dr. Pannell has helped us with shoulder mobility, elbow health, and now shoulder strength. This is the last video in the series, and I really appreciate him taking the time to do these with us. Let's get started.
The next set of exercises that we're going to look at in this mobility series is actually related a little bit more towards strength and preventative exercise. What we're going to be looking at is muscles related to the shoulder specific. Just like we've talked about in the previous videos, the shoulder mobility is extremely important, but if we don't reinforce that mobility, your body will tend to naturally go back to the way it was. So we're going to be looking at some very basic range of motion exercises as well as stability exercises to help keep your shoulders healthy. We're going to break these down a little bit more in depth just so we can make sure that you're doing it properly at home.
That's probably the biggest thing I took away. Mobility is important, but if you don't keep the shoulders strong, they'll probably end up right back where they were.
The first exercise that Cohen is going to demonstrate for us here is a general external rotation stretch. How I teach these in clinic is very, very important because if we don't hit a good base, we're going to be teaching muscle groups wrong and leading to potential injury. Very important here. That we use a band that's appropriate color or size or tensile strength for you. So what I want to see out of Cohen is I want to see Cohen start in a neutral position. This exercise is one that you should feel very quickly with very small movement. What I generally see out of this exercise is people coming about right here and then all the way out. This is not ideal. It's usually not efficient. What I want to see out of Cohen is I want to see him in a neutral plane with his thumb up, and I want to see him externally rotate. We will know if we've done this exercise correctly because you will generally feel a small cramp right on the lateral shoulder. You won't move very far, especially if you have the correct tensile strength of band. You will feel this generally about right through here. We will usually run these exercises anywhere from 10 to 15 repetitions. We like to do these as a warm-up. Now, if you start to notice that you are dipping your hand down, or if you start to notice that you're pulling your hand upwards while you're trying to externally rotate, generally, you're either fatiguing out quickly or the band may be too heavy for you. We either need to lower the reps down or we need to change the tensile strength of the band.
If somebody asked me where to start, it'd probably be this one. Use a light band, keep it smooth, don't worry about making the movement bigger.
The next version of this that we're going to do is internal rotation. Internal rotation is once again a little bit commonly misunderstood of how to properly get it. So how we achieve that is we bring this arm up into a little bit of a chicken wing. We do not need to see Cohen's arm up at 90 degrees. What we need to see is about 30 to 45 degrees and keeping his thumb up. Now, he is still going to continue to rotate that and bring this into his stomach. But what we need to look for with Cohen is a little bit of tightness. And how we achieve that is we bring him out and we try to have him flex the muscles in his armpit. That is going to sound very odd and probably unusual to you. But I usually have people flex their chest and try to flex the muscles down. You will actually kind of bring your arm down a little bit as you do that. And so he'll flex and then he will internally rotate. If you do this exercise correct, you will feel a cramping sensation in your armpit region. Now, if you do not feel it right off the bat, it's okay. We may need to adjust the tensile strength of your band, how far away from the wall you are, or we may just need to work on general muscle activation.
This one feels a little strange at first, but that's normal. You're using muscles most of us probably haven't worked in a long time. If those first 2 are enough, spend some time there before moving on.
So what we're going to do is we're going to lower this band down just a little bit to give me more of an angle. So what Cohen's going to do, he's going to bring his arm up into about 90 degrees. Good. And now, Cohen is going to actively rotate backwards. And that band is going to externally rotate him. Okay? And he's going to just do this for repetitions. The plane is a little bit different here, but we're still activating external rotation. This will be more of an advanced exercise for somebody. So somebody with early stage rotator cuff problems, this may not be the exercise for you. You may need to stay at the lower one for a while until we can work our way up, mixed with some of the shoulder mobility things that we've talked about previously. The next exercise that we're going to do is just the opposite direction. So Cohen is going to have this more on the back side. You can see the band is no longer on the front of his arm, it's moved to the back of the arm and is coming down at a downward angle. He's still going to have his arm up in a neutral plane at 90 degrees and he's going to rotate down to the floor. Now, I do not need Cohen to rotate his arm completely down to the floor. I do not need this. What I need is Cohen to come down to a neutral plane where he starts to feel tension and pull from the band. And then Cohen is going to slowly lower himself back up to neutral. The reason we want to move slowly with these exercises is based on time on tension and eccentric control. You're going to get more muscle fibers reacting with this slower movement, which in turn will give you more muscle activation, and in turn, eventually will give you more hypertrophy or strength building and size growth of the muscle. Now remember, these are more intrinsic muscles. They're built for the rotator cuff. You should feel fatigue more in the shoulder when we do these exercises.
Just take your time. There's no rush.
Moving on, we're going to include the back in these muscles. So what we're going to do, we call these horizontal T's. Cohen is going to keep his hands at a neutral plane. Now this is probably the one time I'm going to tell you not to keep your thumbs upwards because we're not moving over 90 degrees of the shoulder. What he's going to do is he's going to slowly pull himself apart and he is going to squeeze his back muscles together. I'm actually going to have him spin around just so you can see what I'm talking about and I can isolate the back a little bit. As Cohen comes back, he wants to make sure that his scapula or middle back muscles here are squeezing together. Now you can see the shirt kind of ripple through here. We want to make sure he's not having any neck tightness. If we start to see him shrug his shoulders upwards and we start to see these come up or you feel your upper traps tighten up, we know that we need to bring our shoulders back down and we need to feel these muscles more through the back. He needs to pull that band across his chest, and if he has the mobility, he can flex his chest out a little bit, and he's going to feel a little bit of overpull with these stretches, which is okay. We just want to make sure that his shoulders have the mobility and range available for that.
I really like this one. We spend so much time pulling forward when we throw. This one helps work everything on the other side.
The next exercise that we're going to look at in the series here is called a Pallof Press. What we like to do is we like to have this about mid-level on the person. I would consider this 90 degrees or neutral for the person. And what Cohen is going to do, he's going to wrap that around and he's going to walk out laterally until he starts to feel tension pull him back towards the wall. At this point, he's going to take his hands and he's going to push them out in front of him. If you want to do a basic general Pallof press, which helps your abdominals, a little bit of forearm stability, he's just going to come in and out. He's going to do repetitions based on this. You are able to adjust the intensity of this based off how far away from the wall and the tensile strength of the band. In the disc golfing world, you're trying to get a little bit more rotation, you're trying to get a little bit more oblique involvement. We're going to go through one full repetition just so we make sure. So he's going to come all the way out. He's going to rotate completely to the side that he wants to activate. Good. And then he wants to come back to neutral and back to the chest. And that is one full repetition of a rotational Pallof press.
We control rotation every time we throw. I told you I'd show you the three that I like the most. Here they are. External rotation, internal rotation, and the Pallof press. If somebody asked me where to start, it'd be those three. Once those feel comfortable, then I'd add the others. After both my shoulder surgeries, I've learned not to wait until something hurts. A few minutes a couple times a week is a whole lot easier than dealing with an injury. Before we wrap it up, I just want to say thank you to Dr. Pannell for taking time to do this series with us. I know I learned a lot, and I hope you did too. If you missed the shoulder mobility or the elbow videos, I'll put those on the screen. Which one of these are you going to start with? Let me know in the comments. Play smarter, play longer.